I believe that Sundays don't deserve any frills, or I guess beginnings don't deserve any frills. And in the past week, I decided to come back onto the platform and share, I guess, a catch-up video. Please do check it out. I will make an effort to put it here or link it in my description if I remember when I edit this. But thank you so much for stopping by. Hi, and welcome to my platform. The name is Gorata.Selaledi. I'm so excited to be here. And the reason why I opened with that statement is because all my Sundays videos are going to be me and my bonnetti, or me with my wig lines that are hiding under this bonnet right now. They're so crusty. But otherwise, I think it's just allowing ourselves to just get to a place where we get out of the way. Because I think in terms of getting ourselves ready and making ourselves look a certain way takes so much effort, and it steals the limelight, I guess in this case, from where our eyes should be focused. And the aim is just, I guess, for you to focus on the word, like, right? But otherwise, if you are stopping on here for the first time, hi and welcome. The name is Gorata.Selaledi. I'm so excited to be here today on another video, on another day, on a new month. How are you feeling? I think I just want to use the next minute to just help us reflect on the past month, right? I'm just going to share a few questions that I shared with my reflection and journaling circle, which is part of Story Age, where I shared and encouraged the members to really think about the month of May, right? I think we always make a big deal of years, and we really don't give months the attention they deserve, right? And in thinking about the month of May, I'd want for you to just reflect on the top 3 lessons. I actually skipped the first one, but I'll come back to it. The top 3 lessons that you believe the month of May actually came to bless you with, right? I'd want for you to pause this video, get off YouTube, after I share all the questions, of course, and just reflect, right? And the thing with reflection that I'm learning is that you are actually giving yourself an opportunity to learn and understand yourself and increase the chances of you becoming a master of self, right? And understanding who you are, what you bring to the table, so that ultimately your contribution here on earth and in the grand scheme of eternity is magnified. And the second question that I'd want for you to think about, and there's Mrs. Babushi. Oh, she's not camera ready. I'm not gonna pick her up. Bougie. Okay, come. Let's show you the people. Let's show the people my little emotional support animal, Bubbles. Look at her. She's been naughty. Look at her. She's so dirty. Look. So dirty, Bougie. I love you still. But get off the frame. Say bye, guys. Bye, everybody. Yeah. Yeah, so if you were to choose one word to describe the month of May, what would it be? And I believe that for myself, the word for me would be surrender. I think I remember when we did one of the sessions, that was the one word that stood out, because so much came when I kind of just let go and let the moment flow as God would have it, right? And looking forward, from what you've learned from the 3 lessons that you would have put out in terms of what May came to gift you, I'd want for you to think about the top 2 goals for the month of June, and think about, what are my key priorities for the upcoming month, or this month of June. There's 30 days, there's 4 weeks. What am I planning to pour my time, pour my energy into, and be deliberate about that, right? In my coaching sessions, I usually talk about reverence and the need to actually give weight to your life, right? And I'd want to challenge you to do the same, right? Stop operating from a place of being passive and not being a co-creator with God, but operate from that place of recognizing the need to take responsibility for the time that you are blessed with, right? So think about top 2 priorities for the month of June, and write them down, and go a step further and think about, if I was to make a plan of execution, how would that look like, right? So write down week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and write down 4 things that you need to do to actually get to the finish line for these 2 priorities. So just a thought, just as a check-in, since it's the first video of June, and I caught myself there, I got into Coach Gorata mode. But outside of that, I think let's jump into today's video. So this Sunday we are going to be just catching up and starting a new series. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do like a whole series cover, but I feel like I should make the effort, right? But I've decided to title the series Anointed for More, and this is after sitting down and just reflecting on this platform, reflecting on what I want to see come out, not only for me but for you as a viewer. And that was the statement that stood out. And I believe for the next six weeks, we are, although I think I might just do 4 weeks, right? 4 weeks. For the next 4 weeks, we are going to be just reflecting on key verses that help us tap into that realization of being anointed for more. And in today's video, we are going to be reflecting on John 15 verse 5, and I've decided to title today's video John 15 verse 5, Bible study. Apart from God, you can do absolutely nothing. So let's get into the word, right? So John 15 verse 5, I'm just going to read it, and then I will share just as a check-in to this word that we are reading, like what was on my heart when I decided to settle on this verse, but not even to settle on this verse, but what was on my heart before this verse was placed before my mind, right? So John 15 verse 5, and I remember this verse actually, I think last year, I have a feeling like leading up to my birthday, it came up, or leading up to a new chapter, it came up, right? And let me just read it without wasting any time. John 15 verse 5 reads, I am the vine, ye are the branches. He that abideth in me, and I in him, the same bringeth forth much fruit. For without me, ye can do nothing. I'm going to read it because I was actually too much in my mind, ideating as I read this. So let me read it again for your benefit and for my benefit, right? It says, I'm the vine, and ye are the branches. He that abideth in me, and I in him, the same bringeth forth much fruit. For without me, ye can do nothing. That is John 15 verse 5. So that's the scripture. And I guess in terms of sharing the observation from the scripture, just to do a quick soap, is as I was reading it on my Bible, they actually made the word R in italics, right? And the question that came up in my mind is to say, who are you and where are you, right? And also I think that denotes focus in terms of where your time, where your energy is actually flowing and going right now in the season of your life, right? Because I think in him saying that I am the vine and you are the branches, in terms of location, we are consistently having to be connected to God. But it's not a conditional thing. It's a thing of it has to always be the case for there to be fruitfulness, right? And he says, he that abideth in me and I in him. And abiding also denotes location. That where are you? Right? Where are you in this current moment in terms of how you're spending your time, how you're spending your energy? And if I was to just maybe make it even more clear, to say that even in your mind, in terms of your thoughts, where are they 24/7, right? Where is your mind focused on? And in abiding and having to help your thoughts abide in him, I think that would be a nice takeaway or a nice observation in this case. And the same bringeth forth much fruit. So it says, he that abideth in me, right? Location, and I in him. And I think it went over my head, and I don't want for me to go back to it. To say that he that abideth in me and I in him, if Christ abides in me, God abides in me. If I allow God to have a bit of space in my storage in terms of my thoughts, in terms of my actions, in terms of my words, in terms of my goal, and something that I heard from Muso Worship, I think the opening where Rodisang is sharing. It's not even the opening. I think I'll find it and put it here. God bless me when I edit. But Rodisang was talking about how sometimes we feel as though we haven't accomplished much, especially half year. You think, ish, I haven't achieved my goals, I haven't done much. But she asked, what if God wasn't in it, right? Or God wasn't in that whole process? And I'll just share like the key things that stood out from what she was saying here as well, because I actually put it on my notes app and kind of just put it there as a reminder for myself. But that stands out to me to say that what if you'd left God out of your planning? What if you left God out of your creation process? What if you left God out of your career? What if you left God out of your family, out of your marriage, out of your friendships, and he is actually not involved? And being involved is that you're not actually taking into consideration what God says about how things should be in that particular area, because you trust that in the Bible, in this book over here, there is a little bit of something in terms of direction. If you're looking for humility in a situation where you're showing up with pride, God has something to say and something to teach you about that particular area of your life. And he says, I in him. So in this case, the thing of the time dedication and energy dedication, and speaking to myself as well, going into this new week, I'm speaking into you as well to then say, practically, how much time are you actually spending with God, my dear? As I say, my love. So yeah, my love, how much time are you spending with God? From a very practical place, and I would challenge you to really have a think, like in the past week, in terms of prayer, in terms of Bible study, how much time have you dedicated to coming into your secret place and just being, in his presence, right? And this is not to say that outside of any other time during the day, when you're at work, as you're praying, when you're with your friends, etc., doesn't count. But I think that persistent and, I'd say, heavy prayer that happens in the secret place and heavy meditation that happens in the secret place, I believe does something in terms of developing roots and depth in how you understand the word. So a takeaway for myself going into this new week, even for you going into this new week, I hope this blesses you as much as it blesses me, saying it out loud, right? And I think we usually get things wrong. This is something that's coming out as I look at the saying, bringeth forth much fruit. To say that we always start there, right? We always start from that place of fruitfulness, and fruitfulness, I think, from a material place. Or let me actually not say we, but let me say I used to make the mistake of wanting to start there, from a place of the material, to say this is what I want, 1, 2, 3, this is what fruitfulness looks like, 1, 2, 3. But what does the Bible say in terms of what fruitfulness looks like? And if you were to do a life audit and audit yourself, are you living to the standard, right? And the standard in this case, I think it's, if you were to put yourself in front of Christ and just do that audit, what would stand out as the things that need to go? All right. And I think in this case, it's like everything must go if it's material in this case. And if in saying everything must go, I think in terms of the time, the energy, the effort, the worrying that you do, tying to these material things versus the dedication and worship back to God, right? And just getting away from that idolatry of having to worship and dedicate so much time and so much of your life on these things that, coming back to the word, it says, for without me, you can do nothing. That ultimately, in as much as I think you accumulate and overconsume all of these things, ultimately they amount to nothing if God is not in it with you, right? And just that's such a big thought, right? And I think in applying it going into this new week for myself, this would be applying it in how I show up at work, how I show up as a wife, how I show up as a sister, how I show up in my life, in my personal projects, in my business, in my YouTube channel. How can I incorporate the principles of heaven in everything that I do? How can I actually abide, right? Abiding mentally, abiding emotionally, abiding spiritually, physically. What does that look like? And I hope that you will take time for yourself to reflect this Sunday. I will also make time to reflect today as well, to think about that, right? And I believe the prayer, just to wrap up the SOAP, and then I guess I'll use this as a closing thought. It's a good flow. Coming into the prayer, going into this new week. I think I would love to read the first 4 verses. That's 1 to 4, leading up to 5, and then I'll share my prayer for the week. And I hope that you'll also just think about what your prayer is from what we are learning from this one verse, John 15 verse 5, right? So from verse 1, it says, I am the true vine, and my Father is the husbandman. Verse 2 says, every branch in me that beareth no fruit, he taketh away, and every branch that beareth fruit, he purgeth it, that it may bring forth more fruit. Scary. Verse 3, now ye are clean through the word which I have spoken unto you. Verse 4, abide in me and I in you. And I think just to pause, verse 3, I remember, isn't it, for the first video I did for the catch up on my leave day, the hope was to actually do my Sunday, Monday, and Friday videos on that day, but it did not happen because life has to happen as well, hey? But this verse stood out for me. It says that now you are clean through the word which I've spoken unto you. And I think when you think about cleaning the dishes that are sitting on my kitchen counter right now, it's restoring, right? It's restoration to full use, restoring them to usefulness, right? The dirty plate that you used yesterday, you can't really use today. So I think in thinking about being clean through the word, there's a call on us going into this new month of June to make a priority to read the word of God, right? And hear what God has to say about your life. Moving on to verse 4, it says, abide in me, and I in you, as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, except it abide in the vine. No more can ye, except ye abide in me. I'm just going to read it again, because a thought trickled into my mind while I was reading it. So 4 says, abide in me, and I in you. There's that word abide as well, right? Abide. As the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, except it abide in the vine, no more can ye, except ye abide in me. And finally, verse 5, I am the vine, ye are the branches. He that abideth in me, and I in him, the same bringeth forth much fruit. For without me, you can do absolutely nothing. Doesn't say, I paraphrase. But you can do nothing. And I think in thinking of, the past 30 years, in my early 20s, I believe that there was just so much drive to just run my life and dictate how everything should play out. And by the time I turned 25, I think it's coming to the realization that, my girl, you actually can't do this on your own, right? And I'm just getting this thought that one of the verses that we need to reflect on for the last week of June is Jeremiah 1:5. I think I'll use this as my reminder and then put it down for week 4. I had actually still waiting for a word there, but I'm glad that it came. So my prayer, I know, going into this new week, going into this new month, is then to say, look, in as much as we have been given the dominion mandate and to rule and be fruitful and multiply here on the earth, we can't actually do any of that on our own. And I think meaningful dominion in this case that changes people, that brings people into love, that brings people into knowing the grace of God, meaningful dominion that actually heals people even as we interact with them, to the point where they actually yearn to have a relationship with God for themselves, cannot happen. That was a long sentence, but it cannot happen outside of God. So as a closing thought, and I think the key thing there is just to say, always stay connected. That's my prayer, right? So I think just to close that loop, I felt like there was, the plane didn't land. But yeah, just to close that loop, the prayer then for the month of June is to stay connected, staying connected, right? Staying connected to the vine. So what I had written down in my book here is to say, are you tired of doing life on your own? I'm actually just going to pause it here and then record a separate video so that I can actually use part of it in my intro, right? It's a good idea. Content creation behind the scenes. So, are you tired? Probably physically, but are you tired of doing life on your own? Are you tired of doing things by your own strength? Are you tired of not knowing where to go next? I am absolutely sick and tired of being tired in all these areas, in terms of doing life on my own, doing things by my own strength, and not knowing where to go next. As I go into my 30s, even more so, and I think stepping into what I call my Jesus year, the next decade has to be different. In how I make my moves, different in how I prioritize going to God, in how I prioritize talking to God more than I talk to people about it, before I actually make a decision or make the phone call or take an action, right? And I think in breaking down those three elements, to say from the verse, just as a closing thought, what I had put down onto that base thought to say, in doing life on your own predicates your own plans, but what are they informed by, really, right? Informed by what, really? That's what I wrote in the book. And then what I'd noted down for that thought is then to say, the reminder from Jesus that says, I'm the vine and you are the branches. And I think in finding your identity and figuring out who you are, going back to Christ, going back to Jesus, going back to God, and just listening is the difference, I think. Yeah. And then the second thing that I noted from my tired rant is to say, doing things on your own strength predicates having a source of energy to keep going. The world says you are the source. And conversely, in John 15:5, we are reminded that if you remain in me and I in you, the same bringeth forth much fruit, right? And it's a thing of, in this case, you don't have to figure out where the energy comes from all on your own, Mabrara. Jesus has your back, just as a reminder. And lastly, in getting tired of not knowing where to go next, I noted down not knowing, yet confidently moving along as if you have the blueprint. That was me in my early 20s. I just got a call from my little papa that interrupted that thought. But yeah, what I was saying is that in my early 20s, I was just playing God in my own life, trying to navigate this whole life thing by myself. I thought I knew everything, but I did not. In hindsight, looking back, it was not safe for anybody. It wasn't safe for me to actually navigate life that way. And when I say trying to play God, it's like I was dictating and, laying the plans and figuring out where and how those plans are going to play out. And I think in removing ourselves and realizing that the fruitfulness that we desire is in Christ, because Christ does say in John 10:10 to say that the devil comes to steal, kill, and destroy, and he comes to give you life, and not any kind of life, but life in abundance. And I think going into this new week, we are not faking confidence and feigning confidence and moving along as if we have the blueprint, because we are reminded that apart from Christ, we are moving aimlessly, we are building nothing. It might look like we are building something, but I think in Christ, everything is validated and magnified in the grand scheme of eternity. So, pleasant thought, pleasant video for first Sunday of June 2024. I'm so excited, and I hope that this video blesses you, and I hope that you will make time to get into the word for yourself, and just reflect on John 15 verse 5. I always say in my coaching videos, well, so what? You know, sometimes it always feels like we are stating the obvious, so it always feels like I'm stating the obvious, and it's just to say some things are very obvious, but the biggest thing is how do you apply it to your life? The big so what is, how does it fit into the season of your life right now, and what does it mean in terms of changing your life practically? And I feel like I'm screaming at myself. But thank you so much for watching this video to the very end. The name is Gorata.Selaledi, and if you are a new person who has clicked on this link wherever you found it, please do subscribe and click on that notification bell, and more so, please do also leave a comment on the comment section. Just share your thoughts, share your reflections in terms of what stood out. And I think, interestingly enough, I just got this thought that in the next 5 or 10 years I will come back and reflect on the same verse, and I believe that the key takeaways and the key lessons will be different. So similarly for you, I'd want for you to reflect on it. You might know it, but how does it apply to the season of your life right now? What do you need to audit and take out? What needs to go in your life, really? Basically, that's what I'm asking, and I'm ranting into this close. But thank you so much once again. I hope that you have an amazing week ahead. Please make time to pray. Please make time to read your word. And yeah, I think I'll just stop here.